Welcome to Monday morning. Welcome to another Panther-Lair.com weekend recap right here on YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com, the aforementioned Panther-Lair.com. We do this every Monday morning. Get together just for a little while, 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it takes to cover everything you need to know to start your week. Whatever happened over the weekend, whatever happened last week, anything you need to know so that when you walk into work on Monday morning, you're ready, or you get on your Zoom or your Google Hangout or wherever it is on Monday morning, you're ready to talk about everything going on in the world of Pitt sports with your closest Pitt fan friends and colleagues and what have you. Of course, you know the website, Panther-Lair.com, Panther-Lair.com. Somebody pointed out, well, of course we know the website. That's why we're watching this video, which is a fair point. But on the off chance that you stumbled upon this video not knowing about the website, it's right there. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. It is the most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet. Football, basketball, and recruiting. We cover it all at Panther-Lair.com. And of course, we have message boards where you can interact with hundreds and thousands of your closest Pitt fan friends. Panther-Lair.com. We do these videos every Monday morning. Something you can do to help us out, like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I got a subscribe button right down there. You see that? Click that subscribe button. That helps us a lot. And then you'll also know when we go live on Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday night at 8:30, we do the Panther-Lair Show, where we talk about everything going on in the world of Pitt sports. It's a live stream. There's a comment section, chat screen, where you can post your comments and questions. We can interact. We go back and forth. It's like a talk show. As far as I know, it's the only dedicated Pitt talk show that there is going on right now. Although, I mean, I'm sure other people have live streams and live podcasts and things like that. Yeah, and Pat Bostic's got his show, of course, on Saturday mornings on The Fan. But I think what we do on Wednesday nights is pretty fun. So you should definitely come and hang out at the Panther-Lair Show right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, then you'll know when we go live. You'll never miss a live stream or any of our other exclusive Pitt video content. So let's jump into it. What you need to know right now to start this week of August 8th. Right at the top, 1 week down. Training camp. 1 week is in the books. Pitt finished the first week of training camp over the weekend. They started last Monday, had a couple days with no pads whatsoever, just helmets, t-shirts, and shorts in our underwear, as Pat Narduzzi said. And then they went into a couple days with just shoulder pads and helmets, and then got the full pads on, I believe, yesterday. I think Sunday was their first day in full pads. Of course, we weren't there to see it, but state media tells us that it happened. What stood out in the first week of training camp? First question everybody always wants to ask is about the quarterbacks. That's all anyone's interested in. Friday night, I had a chance to hang out with some Pitt fans, have dinner, have a few drinks, and just kind of chat about Pitt a little bit. And I mean, the questions were all about the quarterbacks. What's going on with Kedon Slovis and Nick Patti? And you see what number 2 is there, the Slovis scare. We'll talk about that in a second. But nothing I heard through the first week of training camp changed any of my preconceptions that I had coming into camp. That Kedon Slovis was going to be the starting quarterback. He was the better option of the two. He throws the ball well. Nick Patti, I think, has a lot of things going for him. I think he's very popular with the rest of the team. I think the team views him as a leader. But Kedon Slovis probably gives them the better chance to win. When is Pat Narduzzi going to name a starter? I don't know. I really couldn't guess. I doubt that it'll be anytime this week, but I also have learned a long time ago to not try to predict the actions of one Pat Narduzzi. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Slovis is still the guy ahead. The other thing that stood out, that man right there, you see the photo, number 15, Bub Means. This week was my first time seeing Bub Means in person. Obviously, watched a little film of him from his time at Louisiana Tech. Looked impressive there. Looked really impressive in person. He's a big receiver. One of the bigger receivers on the team. You know, size that rivals that of Jared Wayne and Jaden Bradley, the guys who really are the biggest receivers on the team. He runs well. He's got good hands. You can see that photo. He caught that ball. That wasn't one that got off his hands, you know, and we just happened to snap the picture at the right time. Our guy, Matt Hawley, our photographer, is good, but he's not that good. That was a catch. And Bub Means made a lot of plays like that. Kanate Mumfield also looked really good in the first week of camp. He's going to be the lead receiver. He's going to be really good for Pitt this year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Is he going to be Jordan Addison? I don't know. That's a pretty high bar to reach. But I don't know if he needs to be Jordan Addison. I think he can just be really, really good for Pitt. Between Mumfield, Means, Jared Wayne, Jaden Bradley, Jalen Barden. There's some good receivers on this team. We've talked about this. I feel like I made this point even after Jordan Addison transferred, that there was still a lot of talent in this receiving core. Seeing them in person this week really kind of reinforced that. Other week one observations, the linebackers are going to continue to be the most interesting position on defense. Not necessarily the best position on defense, but certainly the most interesting, with the competition for the two outside linebacker positions and seeing how that develops. And you've got guys who can move all over the place. You've got Servassier Dennis, obviously, can play any of the three linebacker spots. Shane Simon can play money or middle linebacker. Bengali Kamara can play money linebacker or star linebacker. Tyler Wiltz can play either one of the outside linebacker spots. Aiden Henningham getting reps at all three linebacker spots. Not a lot of guys pigeonholed into just one position. And that versatility, I think, helps the coaches as they work on trying to find the three best. We know Servassier Dennis is going to be one of the three best. The other two, not really sure. I think Bengali Kamara is going to be one of them. I think Shane Simon is going to be one of them. But I think you're going to see 4, 5, 6 guys play in every game and play a decent amount of reps. Not just, 3 of the guys play 75 reps and the other 3 play 15. I think it's going to be more of a balance. Servassier Dennis aside, there's going to be balance in the snaps, and you're going to see a lot of guys getting reps, which you kind of saw last year too. It's a little more interesting this year with a bunch of new guys taking the field. But that remains the most interesting position on defense, and I'm intrigued by it because you have the lack of experience potentially offset by some really good athleticism and some physical traits that as they may not be comfortable in the defense just yet. They may not have the experience just yet, but they've got the physical abilities to be, I think, really good. So that position is going to be fun to watch. And then, defensive line looks dominant. Secondary looks really strong. Offensive line looks like it's got a bunch of 6-year seniors on it. Most of the things we knew about this team were only reinforced in the first week of training camp. We'll see what storylines develop coming up in week 2. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Point number 2, the Slovis scare. If you followed this on Saturday, popped up first on the message boards, Panther-Lair.com. We talk about promos for the message boards. This was the first place it showed up. Kedon Slovis got hurt in practice on Saturday. Varying degrees of what this varying reports on the degree or severity of this injury, ranging from he got carted off to it was no big deal. We made a few calls, talked to a few different people, and it was more the latter, that it was no big deal. But I think it brought out, it brought out that fear in Pitt fans. Of Pitt fans who, it's natural, I think, to be worried if you hear your starting quarterback is hurt, because most of your hopes ride on the starting quarterback, and that is not just a Pitt thing. That's for everybody. Anybody who loses their starting quarterback is going to be in trouble unless they have some surprise, Cinderella story that comes out of nowhere. So nobody wanted to hear that kind of thing, and Pitt fans were certainly concerned about that news. Now, like I say, it ended up not being anything, but it does sort of, even something like that, even a nothing story can be a reminder of how close you are one play away from, I don't want to go so far as to say your season, being ruined or all your hopes and dreams come crashing down, but you could be in a pretty tough spot real quick. And that's why coaches are really careful during practice. That's why coaches put the red jerseys on the quarterbacks, because they're non-contact. You don't get after you don't touch the quarterback. You stay away from the quarterback. The quarterback does not take any unnecessary hits, which means that in training camp they don't take any hits at all. And that's the way it should be. You don't want to risk, you can't afford to risk losing a quarterback to injury of any kind. You're already running enough risk that, anytime they drop back in a live drill, even if the quarterbacks aren't live, you could have guys get blocked into them. They could roll up on their ankle. They could, the quarterback could roll out and just plant weird. And his knee could, there's a lot of things that can happen. And I think that brief period of time between the first post on the message board and sort of the confirmation we got that it wasn't a big deal, I think that brief period of time exposed Pitt fans to how close you are pretty much at all times to losing it. So that was a scare, It went away. Turned out to be nothing. Fortunately, we'll find out what happens the next day. Number 3, a new commitment. Pat Narduzzi tweeted it out on Sunday. Pitt got a new commitment. Did his little hush, shh, don't talk, zipped up lips and all this stuff, which means it's not going to come out for a while. We called around. We asked around. Checked with some sources. And yeah, it seems like this is going to be one that's going to stay undercover for a while. We've got some suspicions, some thoughts on who it might be. It's you can check the message boards for that, Panther-Lair.com. But just so you know, it's not Hykeem Williams. We know that 5-star wide receiver that Pitt is heavy on, and we'll talk about him in a second. But if you're, I feel like when there's a new commitment and it looks like it's going to stay quiet for a little while, people are going to assume it's Hykeem Williams because things are getting very interesting there. And like I said, we'll talk about that in a moment. It's not him. But if you're keeping track at home, this makes 2 unannounced commitments. 2 guys who have committed to Pitt enough, to the extent where Pat Narduzzi has tweeted it out, and then those recruits have not announced their decisions themselves. So sort of mystery commitments. Now, one was from June, and the other, obviously was from Sunday. And in this world of recruiting reporting, we respect that. We sit back and we wait for the recruit to announce it on his own. Now, if we have suspicions or we're hearing hints or sources or info or details, we're going to put that on the message board. So you're going to know what we know, or as much of what we know as we can share within reason. So if you're on the message boards, you probably have a pretty good idea of who those 2 commitments are. One will probably be out sooner than the other. And the one that you have to wait for, you probably have to wait a little while, month and a half or so. But we'll see how that pans out. But this is it's continuing this sort of weird summer of recruits committing and then waiting a long time to announce that they committed. So this is what we've dealt with all summer, and so it's almost sort of fitting that it's here again. One more before the summer ends. Seemingly, one more before the summer ends. Now, what about Hykeem Williams? What about the 5-star wide receiver, one of the best receiver prospects in the country, top 5 receiver in the country, top 15 recruit overall in the class of 2023? What's the latest on him? If you roll the clock back to June, Hykeem Williams, the 5-star wide receiver, took 2 official visits. His first was to Georgia. His second was to Pitt. And coming out of the month of June, we told you that his top 2 schools, contrary to the national belief that they were Georgia and Texas A&M, his top two schools were actually Georgia and Pitt. Maybe in that order, maybe not. Now, over the course of, as the month of July rolled through, we think things shifted. And you're probably now looking at more of a Pitt, Florida State race as the top 2 schools for Hykeem Williams, just kind of based on what we're hearing and what we're seeing and a little bit of reading the tea leaves in addition to the different sources and whatnot. The constant theme, the recurring theme throughout the whole summer and even stretching before it has been Pitt. Ever since Tyquan Underwood got to Pitt, the Panthers have been a legitimate contender for Hykeem Williams. Ever since Williams took his unofficial visit to Pitt in the spring when he came up on his own dime and spent a weekend or however long he was here, a day or two. Ever since then, I think Pitt has been a top 2 school for Hykeem Williams. And since his official visit, I think that only further secured the Panthers' spot in that top 5. Or top 2, excuse me. Now, Williams did say, I think late last week, that he's going to be making his commitment on September 23rd is the target date that I think we've seen. They had a Broward County Media Day or something for high school football, and so Hykeem Williams said it there, that he would be committing on September 23rd. But he's also made it clear that he's still going to take an official visit to Florida State and an official visit to Texas A&M. So the conclusion that you make is that there's a real chance Pitt gets a commitment from Hykeem Williams on September 23rd. Maybe even a good chance. Maybe even the likelihood. Or the most likely outcome is that he commits to Pitt. Maybe. We might even go that far. But you know what I'm going to say before I even say it. It's a long time from September 23rd to December 21st, which is signing day. You got 3 months. So even if he commits to Pitt on September 23rd, or anywhere, wherever he commits on September 23rd, it's 3 months to signing day with 2 official visits in there. one to Florida State, and one to Texas A&M. It's going to be a battle. Even if Pitt lands a commitment from Hykeem Williams on September 23rd, it will be a battle to hold on to him through the next 3 months until signing day. I'm not saying that I don't think Pitt is up for the battle. I think Tyquan Underwood is huge here, and I think he's done a great job working on Hykeem Williams. I think Charlie Partridge is huge here, and he has been a great sort of 1-2 punch with Underwood in working on Hykeem Williams. And I think Pat Narduzzi is putting in some serious work on this. I mean, this is an all-out, not shock and awe campaign, because it's far more substantial and foundational than just quick hitting. I mean, they have really built a relationship with Hykeem Williams. They've built relationships with his family, and they've convinced him that Pitt really could be the best place for him. They've done everything they can to this point, and they'll have to continue doing it for the next 4 months from now, 4.5 months from now, 3 months from his commitment date, whether he commits to Pitt or not. But the work that they've done so far and the position they've put themselves in so far is really impressive. And a major credit to Underwood, to Partridge, to Narduzzi, to the whole rest of the staff. So that's going to be interesting to watch, as we head toward, like I say, September 23rd. What's that, a month and 2 weeks, about 5 or 6 weeks from now. All right, last item as we head into week 2 of training camp. What are we watching for now? Same things, man. Quarterbacks, outside linebackers, development at receiver, development of a second tight end continues to be a storyline. We saw a little bit of Carter Johnson, the junior college transfer, who was originally a Power 5 defensive tackle at TCU before he went to junior college and lost a ton of weight and became an offensive weapon, really. Versatile player, guy who could line up at tight end, fullback, H-back. He'll be all over the field. Carter Johnson will, and potentially could be that number 2 tight end behind Gavin Bartholomew, depending on how the coaches want to use him. I think, a guy like Jake Renda will still be in the conversation. A guy like Kai Wright will still be in the conversation. But I think Carter Johnson's really going to be one to watch. And I think this week will be big for him, right? The pads are on. You're going to have to play through contact. You're going to have to show that you can block and not be a liability in the blocking game. And show that you can catch passes and be good. You know what I mean? Be a contributing member of the offense, contributing player on the offense. You need to see guys like Bub Means and Kanate Mumfield continue to develop and get comfortable in the offense and develop a rhythm with Keaton Slovis and Nick Patty. And then you need, like I said, the outside linebackers. You need those guys. You need a pecking order to start to develop. It's only the second week of camp, but by the end of this, you're going to be halfway through camp. You're going to need a pecking order to start to develop. You're going to need some guys to establish themselves as the top dogs. Pat Narduzzi talked about how Solomon Shields at one point in spring camp was, he was a starter. He'd earned a starter role. Well, then he subsequently lost that starter role. You're going to need guys to establish themselves as those top-line linebackers, partially just because you want guys to emerge and play well, but also because you want the guys behind them to have something to shoot for and work for and chase down. And so, that needs to sort of crystallize a little bit this week. You're not going to set the depth chart. You're not going to write out a 2 deep in pen this week. But you do need to have some of that kind of coming together, some of that evolving and emerging at the linebacker position. You just need everybody else to stay healthy. That's maybe the biggest thing for any week in training camp. You need everyone to stay healthy, quarterbacks included. All right. That's it as we head into week 2 of training camp. I'll be down in the South Side. Jim Hammond will be down in the South Side. We'll have tons of coverage with photos and videos and training camp reports and articles and interviews, everything you need to get ready for the season opener against West Virginia on September 1st. So stay tuned right here, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, for all of our exclusive video content, the weekend recap that we do every Monday morning, the Wednesday night Panther-Lair show, 8:30 live stream. You can tune into a live Pitt sports talk show every Wednesday night right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I can't thank you enough for doing that. Thanks for checking out our weekend recap this week. It's been a lot of fun. As always, enjoy your week, and we will talk to you on Wednesday night with the Panther-Lair show. Thanks.